Just give us 1 sec, we're just fixing the sound.
Oh, it's not my fault then. That's
No,
good.
no, no.
Oh, good. Yes, I am on.
And if I cut out at all tonight, just know that I'm probably coughing, and I don't like coughing.
Just starting the meeting.
You've got the official town seal as a drop-in backdrop. I'm impressed. It looks like you're here.
Yep. Well, we're in person.
not
We're in person, but it's on Zoom as well. It's in person and on Zoom as well. I should go.
She knitted it.
I'm at town hall, I'm on camera.
Actually,
I
one of
need to
those
go.
crocheted replicas, official town seal. Yeah, I think that's
So
it.
if they say that there's someone else on, they can let them on, but
Okay.
otherwise I wouldn't.
We don't know who he is.
I
Okay.
don't know who that is, I wouldn't.
There was the chair of the Concom trying to confer with me.
Oh, join us panelists, okay.
Chris, have you heard about the dam at Danielson Pond? Good.
I didn't hear about it.
Tree blew down, like in the past week, and I'll show you the picture. It's put the dam at risk.
Huh.
Kristen's birthday party last night.
Okay. Eileen, can you hear us?
Cats, there it is.
Oh, wow. Is that all new break because of the tree?
That's the
Oh,
hole
I don't
from
see
the
you on there.
root ball.
Oh, there you
So
are,
the
Mike.
tree is
Hold on.
leaning that way
Okay, got it.
downstream.
Ugh. Yeah.
And the,
Recording in progress.
Deb's been talking to the Concom agent who says that they have somebody that can examine it to say whether, how soon it should get fixed.
Yeah,
soon.
yeah. We got a couple more storms. It's gonna be good.
Okay. Eileen, can you hear us? Perfect. Okay, we're good to go, Pete.
Better.
Okay. Mike, you're all set? We're all set then? Good. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Board of Selectmen's meeting. This is January 16, and we always disclose that we are recording, and we also take a moment to appreciate our troops who are serving around the world. Thank you for that. We start with an appointment, 6 p.m., public hearing on the new application for N and
Chairman, you have to identify your member that's participating remotely.
We will identify that Eileen Murphy is appearing remotely at this meeting. Thank you, Mr. Sorrell. Is that sufficient, sir?
Yes.
Thank you.
Pete, real quick, do you mind if I defer to Gus tonight for motions, just because my throat is killing me?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, that's fine.
And
Yep.
she wants to save it for the contested discussions over the important issues.
Exactly.
All right. 6 o'clock, public hearing on the new application by N&G Restaurant Group LLC, Garrett Larkin, manager of record, to exercise an on-premises Section 12 all alcohol beverage license at the premises at 21 North Street. And I declare the hearing open. Anything else I need to do, Mr. Sorrell? Can't hear you, you're muted.
No, can you hear me now?
Okay. Is,
You use the
I
podium.
I would note for the record the publication that was, should have been in the newspaper as well as the, notice to abutters.
Can you just read it, because I can't see it from that far away?
The official legal notice, Town of Medfield public hearing. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held on Tuesday, January 16th, 2024 at 6 p.m. on the new application by N&G Restaurant Group LLC, Garrett Larkin, manager of record, to exercise an on-premise Section 12 all alcoholic beverages license at the premises of 21 North Street, Medfield, Massachusetts 02052, consisting of approximately 3,700 square feet, 87 seating capacity, including 30 bar seats. This meeting will be held at the Medfield Townhouse, 459 Main Street, Chenery Meeting Room, second floor, and via Zoom with instructions to view or listen to the meeting included on the meeting agenda on the town's website. A plan is on file in the town administrator's office, available for inspection during regular business hours. All town boards and interested parties are invited to attend. Signed, Osler L. Peterson, Chair, Select Board.
Thank you, Mr. Murby. And I didn't turn my page to see that it says B, request for a 2024 common victualer's license, and B, request for a 2024 amusement license.
Yes. Good
Thank you.
evening.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Nikki Larkin. My husband Garrett and I are the co-owners of N&G Restaurant Group, DBA 21 North. Tonight, I'm solo representing because Garrett, who is the manager of record, is out of town. So please let the record show that we are both U.S. citizens and residents of the state of Massachusetts. Today, as you mentioned, we are seeking approval of our liquor, vic, and entertainment licenses, as well as approval for Garrett Larkin as the manager of 21 North. I figured I'd give you just a quick, little bit of history about the space. In 1958, brothers Alan and Robert Larkin were commissioned by the U.S. government to build a post office for the town of Medfield. Alan was Garrett's dad. It was a post office for about 40 years until the town outgrew that space and the post office moved down the street to its current location. After that, the Larkin family decided to lease the space to a restaurant, and the former proprietor had a full-service restaurant with a liquor license for about 23 years. Now, this is kind of coming full circle. We have revitalized and reimagined the space into 21 North, a new upscale casual restaurant featuring American fare in the heart of Medfield Center. As you mentioned, the property covers approximately 3,700 square feet and has an occupancy of 87. We plan to showcase 3 customer-facing sections. The Janes Avenue side, we plan to make that a lounge with seating for 15 to 20 people. Think kind of cozy, comfy, warm spot to hang out. The North Street facing center of the restaurant will be a bar, a rectangular shaped bar with about 30 seats. And then on the Straw Hat Park side, we'll have a booth and tables, and that will accommodate about 30 guests. The kitchen will remain in the back of the building where it was with the prior establishment. We will have TVs in the bar area and on occasion feature live music. The feel will be upscale casual and the look will be fresh, clean, warm, and bright. A contemporary vibe, but with some traditional touches throughout. Our menu is still being finalized, and as I mentioned, we'll be serving American-style foods. Our theme is to keep it simple and to offer consistently good food for our guests to enjoy every time. We will offer a small menu for our lounge and bar, but guests will be able to order off the full menu as well. We plan to update our menu seasonally to afford our guests fresh local offerings. You can always check out our website at 21northrestaurant.com. That's the number 21northrestaurant.com to get updates on our menu. We anticipate takeout with no direct delivery service. However, we will partner with third-party providers like DoorDash. Our hours of operation will be Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So we'll take Tuesday off from 11 to 12 a.m. And we'll roll out a lunch and brunch sometime after we launch. Our hours of operation are consistent with other full-service restaurants in town. We have a general contractor, building permits, and work is ongoing. Our current fire system works and is operational. However, we learned it's not up to current code, so we are replacing it with a new system, and our team's been partnering with the fire chief. The new system will be installed, tested, and fully operational prior to us seeking final occupancy permits. We'd like to open in late March, early April, that's what we're hoping for, once our local and state liquor license applications have been approved. And honestly, we are so excited and hope to help grow the idea that Medfield is a food destination. We already have some terrific restaurants that anchor our town and some new additions to the community, and we're thrilled to become part of that network. Again, check out our website, 21northrestaurant.com, to follow our progress. And I'd be happy to take any questions.
Yes?
Two questions. One, and this is just filling in the details on a
Sure.
couple things. I don't even remember where I read. I think somewhere I read you were not going to have outdoor dining. I just wanted to know whether that was correct.
That is correct for now, yes.
Okay. And then I'm also peripherally aware of some of the early cross threads with, I think it was the Historical
Yes.
Commission. If you have your permits, I'm assuming that that means all of those issues have been resolved.
Yeah, I think, yes, they absolutely have. We initially met with Historic on 5/16, and we were under the impression that abutter notices weren't going to need to be sent. And then there was some discussion on social media about the mansard overhang and then our right to paint the building. We reconnected with Historic on November 28th, and we received retroactive approval for all of that. And I'll just have a little, I always come with handouts. So this is the original post office and how it looked back in the day. It's the watercolor that Mrs. Larkin, Joan, gave to us. And then this is kind of maybe a little bit premature. We have a meeting, I know, with signage tomorrow, but this is kind of how we're hoping to make it look. It has the original, when we removed the mansard overhang, the original copper gutters were still there. And then we added some copper downspouts. We will be adding some awnings and then the signage with some sconces. Yes, so that all has been resolved. Thank you for asking.
Yep. Those were my only questions.
Eileen, do you have questions?
I do. I'm excited. Everyone's been asking, what's happening with the old Nosh and Grog? So I appreciate you coming forward and sharing your plans. I just want to confirm, you just said in the lounge and bar area, you'll offer a light menu. I'm hoping, and when I make the next statement, I'm not saying anything to be offensive, but I am hoping that the intent is for people who are coming to eat and drink, but certainly not to become a drink destination, knowing that we're right there in the center of town and there's a school not too far from your restaurant.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. That's why we're making sure we're offering light fare so that there's always something for people to nosh on or nibble on. Probably not saying nosh since it was nosh and grog before, but to nibble on, while they're having a splash here and there, but absolutely. So that's why we're also offering our full menu for the entire restaurant for everyone to enjoy.
Okay, that's all. Thank you. Because a previous group that came in, when they said that, it really struck home that so we appreciate you saying that. And then to follow up on Gus's question about the outdoor dining. So it's not something you're planning at launch, but would be something you'd potentially explore?
I think we really want to get this right, and we want to make sure that we're really great at this before we kind of go to a future phase. So I'm sure if we decide to do that, because it is a beautiful place to kind of hang out and chill, we'll be back to, I guess, definitely to see the special permitting area, but probably to see you guys too, to make sure that everyone is kind of lined up with that. Yes.
And the reason I ask is I know at one point when I was looking at the progression of this building, there was a point where I believe you guys have potentially requested to install a door on the side that faces Straw Park.
Yes. So originally, there have been a couple of iterations, but originally we were planning outdoor seating, and we were thinking, we would maybe have a retractable door or a door on the side that faced Straw Park to give people easy access in and out. It just became financially unfeasible to kind of pursue that. So we kind of pulled back on that and just kind of regrouped and decided, we really want to be good at caring for our guests inside, and then we'll, talk about future things in the future.
To the chair, you've got a drawing, a description as part of your application. If you make any significant changes, you'll have to come back for a revision of the license, modification of the license.
We don't plan to do that for some time. As I said, we really want to get this right, but thank you for offering that clarification.
No, I'm all set. Good luck. I look forward to seeing it open. I'm sure being that you guys are a Medfield family, I'm sure you'll get a good loyal following.
We look forward to seeing you there.
Thanks, Eileen. I have a couple nosy questions, but I basically just want to
Nosy
congratulate
posy,
you
go ahead.
guys.
Let's hear it.
And I think that it'll be a wonderful addition to the downtown. I like the idea of a restaurant destination. I know Norwood did that very successfully in their downtown, and and it certainly seemed to add a lot to their downtown. I was just curious about the name, N&G. Is that initials of the people that are involved, or is that Nosh and Grog?
Nikki and Garrett.
Yeah, all right. I wondered, because it fit with Nosh and
Somewhat
Grog, too.
coincidental, and, you know, we formed that a while ago. We've been planning this for a while, so that's why, yeah.
Maybe
So-
Nosh and Grog named themselves after.
So the other just nosy question I had was that when I saw the copper downspouts, I was delighted, because, I mean, they look great.
Thanks.
But I always worry about people stealing copper.
No one steals anything in Medfield.
Okay. So I had a high school kid come to my office in downtown Medfield next to the post office years ago, and he didn't lock his bike out front, and he said, "Oh, I should go lock my bike," and he said, "No, it's Medfield." I thought, "Oh,
True.
okay."
I
So
mean, let's
don't
hope it
lock
always
my
stays that
bike
way.
anymore
Let's hope it
now.
always stays that way, yeah.
Yeah, so, okay, well, good luck with that. And that's all I had.
Great.
So Gus, we'll declare the public hearing closed.
Do
Anything else we
you
need to do?
take comments from the public first?
Oh, all right, before we close, request for comments from the public.
Oops. Mark's jumping in here.
Mark?
Yeah, I'd like to ask about, experience and training with respect to alcohol service.
I can tell you that, you know, the Larkin family has a bit of training with alcohol service. My husband has worked in the liquor business since he was a kid. And we have great advisors and employees with deep roots in the restaurant industry that will afford us those additional kind of granular experience and detail needed.
Anybody tip trained or expect to be?
Excuse me?
Tips trained. TIPS, it's the servers get trained in tips.
I don't know the answer to that. I'm sorry. I'm not.
Is that, Mark, is that a condition of the license?
You can make it a condition.
Is it
My
required?
recommendation would be that they undergo some sort of training, both management and all servers. It's available online now as well. You don't actually have to physically attend as you used to. But my strong recommendation would be that they undergo that.
Thank you.
Hey, Mark, could I ask you a question on that, just so I even understand? Ordinarily, when we have a public event that someone's, you know, something like up at the hospital or somewhere else where alcohol is being served, the applicants always submit, it's, or at least in my experience recently, they always have the actual certificate of the people who'll be serving, that they are tip certified or tips trained. Is that I'm just trying to understand what the rules are. When it's some sort of a one-off event like that, is the tips training a requirement? Or is it even there just a recommendation? I always
In
assumed it was a
Medfield,
requirement.
it's a recommendation because it hasn't been implemented as a local bylaw. Franklin, for instance, it is actually in the local bylaw that it's required. But it's strongly recommended because the focus is going to be at least, a package store is one thing.
Sure. For different
It's not
industries.
as likely that you've got somebody intoxicated and you have to make a determination whether or not to sell, whereas on-premises consumption, that's a separate issue from age and that sort of thing. So, again.
I think it's a great idea.
It's in everybody's interest proactively that
Right.
there be proper training.
So part of what was behind my question, though, is that I think that means we would not make that an absolute condition of this license. We certainly would make a recommendation. It sure makes a lot of sense if you can get it on.
Yeah.
And for every reason in the world, if you're running an establishment that serves liquor,
Totally.
you probably want to cover yourself for liability reasons.
Of course.
But I'm kind of drawing a fine line between the things that the select board might require.
Yes.
And what I'm coming away from this conversation with is that's not a requirement, because that's not one of our rules. We strongly recommend it, just to be,
So what I heard Mark say is that we can require it.
so we haven't.
We haven't
Have
in
you,
the
yeah,
past.
is it the same, do
No,
the
it's
same
not in the
treatment for
bylaw.
all the restaurants that have come into town?
Do you know? if
You
we-
haven't made that a condition of other licenses.
Yeah, okay.
we're going to do it.
Yeah, I just want to make sure everybody knows.
It's one of
I think
the-
your insurance company's probably gonna make
Yeah,
you do it.
sure.
Yeah. The real decider. So Gus, do you want to try to put together a motion then?
One last question for Mark. We have a total of 3 licenses being requested. I assume we're going to act on the liquor license first, and then we can do the Vittler and the entertainment license as a second motion.
Yeah, the liquor license is the major one because that's then going to go to, that's not a final decision, that's just the first step. Then it has to go to the ABCC for their review and approval. So that's really the significant one, that's the public hearing and all. The common vics and the entertainment are of lesser importance. Particularly for the common vics, since they've already got a special permit from the ZBA that's addressed those issues.
Okay. I'll do the liquor license. I move that we approve the application by N&G Restaurant Group LLC, Garrett Larkin, manager of record, to exercise an on-premise Section 12 all alcoholic beverages license at the premises of 21 North Street.
I'll second that. And Ms. Murphy?
Aye.
Mr. Murby?
Aye.
Peterson, aye.
Secondly, wait, hold on a minute. You didn't close.
You close the public hearing.
Closed, I declare the public hearing closed, sorry. So
We're
we'll,
both getting a little bit of that.
we'll have that vote again then. Ms. Murphy?
Just the vote.
Aye.
Okay.
Mr. Murby?
Aye.
Peterson, aye.
And secondly, I move that we approve the request for a 2024 common vittler license and a 2024 amusement license for the premises at 21 North Street.
Second, all those in favor? Ms. Murphy?
Aye.
Mr. Murby?
Aye.
Peterson, aye. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Hope it works out well.
Thank you.
Hope it works out great, actually. We have a 6:30 public hearing, but we'll hold that one till 6:30 and move on to Barry McGrath.
It's 6:28, that clock is wrong.
This is a timeless meeting.
Yeah,
We have 2 minutes.
so Chris, do you want to do the police appointments first?
No, because they will take a significant period of time, and so we need to have the hearing start at 6:30.
Okay.
So why don't we just give it,
Since we have 2 minutes, do you want to do the budget update or something?
I wish my budget update was only 2 minutes.
Committee appointments.
Why don't you do the board and committee appointments?
Board and committee appointments. A, appoint Thomas Connors as a full member of the Medfield Historical Commission.
I move that we appoint Thomas Connors as a full member of the Medfield Historical Commission.
Second, all those in favor, Ms. Murphy?
Aye.
Mr. Murby?
Aye.
Peterson, aye.
And I apologize to Mr. Connors, we misspelled his name on the agenda, but we will have it correct going forward on everything. Ours.
I would have pronounced it the same.
And the next one is to appoint Jeffrey Kane to be a full member of the Board of Health.
Do a spell check first, or we good?
Nope, we're good on that
Okay, I
one.
move that we appoint Jeffrey Kane to be a full member of the Board of Health.
I'll second that. Ms. Murphy?
Aye.
Mr. Murby?
Aye.
Peterson, aye. Okay.
And just a note on that, Mr. Kane is moving from an associate member to a full member, so we'll be seeking an associate member if anybody's interested in the Board of Health.
And we do have someone who's interested.
Yes, we have one already, and we've just posted it, so.
Okay. Barry, do you want to take
No,
over?
no, we're gonna do the 6:30 public hearing.
Oh, yeah, all right, sorry. I'm just eager to get to your stuff. Barry. 6:30 public hearing will be held on Tuesday, January 16, 2024, at 6:30 on the transfer of license by Grand Mandarin Inc., DBA Jing's Garden 2 to Ganon Medfield Inc., DBA Wasabi Manager of Record Zhu Hui Gao to exercise an on-premises Section 12 all alcohol beverage license at the premises at 16 North Meadows Road. Request for a 2024 common victualer's license, request for a 2024 amusement license. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. Good evening, good evening.
open the
I'd
hearing.
like to Declare the public hearing open.
I declare the public hearing open.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Can I start now?
Yes, please,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Hi, good evening. My name is Andrea Cole. I'm the paralegal working for Attorney Chris Coleman. I represent the applicant tonight, the Ghana Medfield Inc. On the transfer of liquor license and the entertainment license applications. A little introduction of our application is basically for the change of ownership. Our client is purchasing an existing restaurant, the Jane Garden 2, and we are proposing to continue operate the restaurant as an Asian Japanese restaurant. The nature of the restaurant remain unchanged. The seating capacity, the nature of the restaurant all remain unchanged, except that the DBA name, the business name will be changed from Jane Garden 2 to Wasabi. The proposed restaurant operating hour will be from Monday to Saturday, 11 a.m. to 12 midnight, and Sunday from 12 noon to 10 p.m. Standing next to me is the proposal manager, Ms. Jia Hua Gao. You can also call her Anna. She is a U.S. citizen, TIPS certified, and she has about 8-year experience doing a restaurant, serving alcohol in a restaurant. We are happy to answer if the board have any questions.
Gus, do you want to start?
So this is a true transfer of ownership? It's not
Correct.
just a business change or anything like that?
Yeah, the business is going to be the same, similar Asian Japanese cuisine.
So the menu stays pretty much the same, it's just the ownership?
Yes, yes.
And I have one, and I'm not sure that we'll be able to get an answer on that. Well, you may be able to answer this. A couple doors up from you is the Italian restaurant that's moving in, and when they came to talk about their license, the fire chief mentioned that the fire safety system needed to be redone. Do you know if your restaurant is affected by that as well? I'm guessing it might be, but.
It might be, but I believe the fire chief has been handling that.
So the
Yes.
fire chief
Yeah.
said they have-
Yes,
okay.
I have no,
I'm the current James Garden owner, and the
So,
whole system.
Before you keep going, the people at home watching on TV can't hear you unless you use the microphone, please.
Oh.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you
I
for
just
coming.
want to answer this question. And the landlord just total renovated the whole sprinkler system, the whole building. So that's included that Japanese, the restaurant, our restaurant, and also the, the Papagino place where the Italian restaurant coming. So I just talked to the property manager, Susanna, this afternoon. So everything already updated.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Gus, any
That's
other
it.
questions?
No other
Okay.
questions.
Eileen?
Yeah, just a quick question. I'm curious, have you run or do you have multiple locations of the restaurants right now?
yes, good question. One of the there is two partnership, two shareholder in the corporation. One of the shareholder, Jane, also named Jane, she owned another Sakura restaurant in Walpole. And co-owner, a partial, shareholder interest in the other Apache restaurant, Marsha, in Norwood. So she has experience operating restaurant in the other town and city.
Oh, good. I'd actually heard something along those lines, and that the other restaurants are fantastic. So there was some excitement knowing that you would be taking over this establishment. So that's good to hear.
Thank you very much.
Is that it, Eileen?
That is. And when will this take place? The change of hands and
The Walpole?
no, the Medfield. If we approve this tonight, how quick will that change of hands take place?
Is the address, you mean?
So how quick the time, right? When will be?
Oh, the closing, you mean? As soon as we got the ABCC approval. So I think they will take about 4 to 6 weeks to go through ABCC.
Will the establishment be shut down between then?
Yes. Yes, actually, yeah. Thank you for asking. We are proposing to do some a little minor valuation to the restaurant before we will reopen for business. So the proposed renovation is mostly for the dining room. We will, make it a little upgrade. We will remodel the lunch and sushi bar, and we work the front entrance to make it larger, so making the customer feel more comfortable getting into the restaurant. And we will relocate the entrance from the bar direction to the other direction to keep the people sitting at the bar a little warm area during the winter. So we are doing some improvement, but not the major one, just some minor thing. Hopefully can be finished within a month after the closing, then we will reopen. I would say estimate if we close by end of February, we take a month to do the valuation. About end of March or April, will be reopened about that time.
That's
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have no more questions. I just want to thank you for coming to Medfield, and you heard the statement about being a restaurant destination, so we hope that you add to that in our town. So glad to have you guys here.
Thank you.
Gus, do you want to craft a motion then?
Unless you want to see if
Close
anyone.
the hearing.
Close the hearing. Let's see if there's any comments.
Any questions from the audience first?
Thank you, Mark. Do we have any questions? Hearing none, we'll close the hearing. Gus, do you want to?
Okay, yeah, I'll do the same configuration.
Yeah,
too.
please.
So, okay, I move, let's see, I got to get the wording right here from there. That we approve the transfer of license by Grand Mandarin, Inc., doing business as Jing's Garden 2, to Gannon Medfield, Inc., doing business as Wasabi, manager of record, Zhao Hua Gao, to exercise an on-premise Section 12 all alcoholic beverages license at the premises of 16 North Meadows Road.
I'll second that. All in favor, Ms. Murphy,
Aye.
Mr. Murby,
Aye.
and Peterson, aye.
And then secondly, I move that we approve the request for a 2024 common vittler license and a 2024 amusement license for the Gannon Medfield, Inc., doing businesses with Wasabi Restaurant at the premises of 16 North Meadows Road.
Second, all in favor, Ms. Murphy,
Aye.
Mr. Murby,
Aye.
Peterson, yes.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to town. Congratulations.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
How many licenses are available left?
Brittany can answer that, but we're getting close.
We're
They can
on,
open up the restaurant, Gina?
all right, we're on to the Medfield Police Department. Deputy Chief Barry McGrath to request appointment of following officers as lateral transfers: Dylan Haldeman and Nicholas Yaskoff.
That's the next agenda item. So we're gonna do that one first.
Next one is Barry McGrath, Deputy Police Chief, to request the appointment of the following special officer.
Do you want to
James
take a
Wilson.
minute and bring everybody back in?
We're flexible, Barry. We can do it any way you want.
Big crowd.
Nice to see.
We got an open chair up here.
We'd have to make you a voting member then. Okay, all yours, Barry.
All right, members of the board, on behalf of Chief Corrett and myself, we are requesting for your consideration the appointment of 2 full-time police officers to the town of Medfield. Mr. Dylan Haldeman, who would be taken as a lateral transfer from Sudbury Police Department. He is a school resource officer with over 4 years of experience, sexual assault investigator. He's a PhD candidate in criminal justice leadership, and he lives in Plainville. Also, we are asking for your consideration for Nick Yaskoff. He's a lateral transfer from Bellingham. He worked as a dispatcher in Attleboro, an armed security guard. He has a bachelor's degree in criminal justice with a minor in sociology, and he lives in Bellingham.
Excellent. Gus, any questions to start?
I'm just curious, if you're a PhD candidate, do people not argue like speeding tickets with you as much? I'm just curious.
You'd have to ask.
If there's any immediate,
That's a conversation for Dylan.
No, it's still the same. Okay. You probably don't throw that on them. They're not looking for it. Okay. No, I welcome. I'm delighted that you're here and that we have an opportunity to do this. So, no questions.
Eileen?
I will echo Gus's remarks. Congratulations, I'm thrilled to have you guys on board, and I apologize I'm not there tonight, but you don't want to be near me, I don't want to infect anybody, but congratulations, I look forward to getting a chance to meet you in person.
I have no questions, and I give you my thanks for coming and congratulations. And what's the PhD in?
Criminal justice.
Criminal justice. Yeah. Where are you doing that?
Liberty University.
Very cool.
Thank you, sir.
So Gus, do you want to then craft a motion?
I move that we approve the request for the appointment of the following officers as lateral transfers into the Medfield Police Department: Dylan Haldeman and Nicholas Yaskoff.
Second. All those in favor, Ms. Murphy?
Aye.
Mr. Murphy?
Aye.
Peterson, yes. Excellent.
Congratulations.
Back to you,
Would you
Barry.
like to swear all 3 in at the end, or do you want us to do the 2?
Whatever you want to do. If you want to
Well-
do pictures with their families individually, it's up to you.
Why don't we, if you don't mind, could we let me introduce to you our
Absolutely.
special? Okay. Members of the board, I would also like to recommend for your consideration James Lopez as a special police officer for the town of Medfield. James is a special police officer currently in Millis. He's a full-time firefighter in Westwood, and he lives in Millis.
Gus, questions?
So you're in pretty close. You're covering all of that pretty close. So that's good. No questions. Just observations. That's good.
Eileen?
No questions, again, just pass along my congratulations, and again, look forward to meeting him in person.
No questions here, but thank you for being here. So Gus, you want to make a motion?
Yep. I move that we approve the request to appoint James Lopez as a special officer in the Medfield Police Department.
I'll second that. All in favor? Ms. Murphy?
Aye.
Mr. Murphy?
Aye.
Peterson, aye. Congratulations, men.
Okay.
Members of the board, if you would allow us, I'd like to have the 3 hires come up and be pinned by their significant others.
Excellent.
Guys, why don't you come right up here, face the crowd. Right here. And whoever's pinning the officers. Yeah, you can go right up.
He's turning me a little bit. He won't give up that long.
Come here, buddy.
I'm videoing them.
I have pictures I can send.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations. Congratulations, sir. All right, thank you, guys. Go.
Thank you.
I did just want to say to the board that we couldn't do this. The deputy and I worked very hard to bring people here, but tonight in particular, I have to thank Officer Moses.
He's the one who kidnapped them, or?
Yes, he is proof in the pudding that when our officers talk about our agency in a positive way, that it reaches out to other members and makes this a place to be.
Excellent.
Glad to hear it.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Daddy's doing these guys good.
Thank you all for coming.
Thanks for coming. Not all of our meetings are always this much fun.
We can bring this guy every week.
That's fine.
You did a good job. You did fine.
We give videos, we just give in to technology to quiet them down. All right, have a good night.
Thank you.
Here.
Pretty sort of a letdown when the crowd all leaves.
We love you three. That was not nice.
It's nice to see that some of the stuff we do is really fun.
We'll put that in our recruitment video.
So I think it's quiet enough to go on now. Our next item is discussion items. We've got 2024 town meeting and FY25 budget items. Number 5, FY25 budget update. Christine?
So you should have a budget worksheet in front of you.
Yes, indeed.
As you know, we have talked about, since last summer, we have been working with the warrant committee on a change to our budget process. So back in the early fall, we started working on our next round of 5-year projections and developed a revenue consensus with the warrant committee. That revenue consensus number was then divided with 75% of the revenue and 25% going to, 75% going to schools and 25% of the revenue, new revenue going to the town. And that was after we took out our shared costs such as health insurance, debt service, property liability, et cetera. The warrant committee then developed guidance, which was shared with everyone, and they offered a 4.2% increase to the town's budget, which was $562,559, and a 4.1% increase to the school department, which equals a $1,687,676 budget. The budget that you see before you, the town has met the guidance from the warrant committee. That did not come easy, and it included making some significant adjustments to requests from department heads. For example, we agreed to a new position with Parks and Recreation for an assistant Parks and Recreation director, but in order to meet the budget, we're not able to actually fund that until January of the fiscal year 25 budget. Recognizing and working with the warrant committee that will need to be fully funded in fiscal year 26, beginning on July 1st.
Help me understand. January of the FY25 budget is 2 weeks ago?
No, that was 24. We're still in 24 now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
I'm 6 months off. Okay.
Yep.
Got it. Okay.
So typically when our new positions start, they'd be July 1st. We're proposing a 6-month delay funding that position 50% for this year. School committee is still reviewing their budget. And in all, though the initial budget that was presented to the school committee was 6%, we anticipate they'll be bringing that in line with the warrant committee guidance. But you'll see in tonight's budget, it is not a balanced budget before you because we're waiting for that number to be refined by the school committee. There's still some variables to consider, and that's why I have not given you my initial memo with this budget. There's still some moving pieces to that. We may need to do some outside privatization of our grounds maintenance. I'm working through that right now. As you know, the governor had some 9C cuts to the fiscal year 24 current budget, and that included a 50% reduction in an earmark that we had for the Metacomet tennis courts and lighting project. While we have been assured, not fully assured, that those are the only cuts they're making, I'm not confident in that just yet. Obviously, the governor will be speaking at the annual town meeting, that we attend on Friday, and we're anticipating to hear more from her on that at that point. So there's still some discussions. We may need to reopen the capital budget and investigate that with Parks and Recreation. And I am still negotiating with the Public Employee Committee on health insurance. So that may, depending on the outcome of that, there may be some additional revenue to help the school committee in meeting their budget and to fund some of the items that are not included in the budget before you. One of the things we have not included in the town's presentation of the budget this year is any work with the class and compensation study that we anticipate will be finished mid-February. We will need to determine how we're going to fund that once we have a final number on that. We did include a 3% cost of living for our non-union personnel, and that is reflective of the 3% increase in both the police and the fire contracts for the third year of their contract. So there's still some moving pieces to the budget, but we have been able to present to you the town's budget within the warrant committee's recommendations. So I'm hoping within the next few meetings I will have a final memo to you with a balanced budget and the recommendations from the warrant committee on the use of free cash for this year.
Excellent. Gus, questions?
Not yet.
Still preliminary.
We just got it, so.
It's still preliminary, but the change in the budget process has been extremely helpful both to the department heads and the financial team on the town side. We started meeting in early September to start reviewing the budgets, and it's helpful to have that guidance in place from the warrant committee rather than presenting a budget to you in January with a $2 million deficit and spend a significant amount of time trying to figure out how to address that. So it was, I think, a much easier process. But again, nobody likes change, and it was hard for everybody, but I commend my department heads on working towards that.
I guess I would have one question around headcount. There's a halftime addition to the Parks and Rec department. Is that the only addition that we were looking at on the town side?
On the town side, yep.
Do you know are there additions on the school side?
I believe so, but I don't know if that's been finalized yet.
Okay.
Yep.
Anything else, Gus? Eileen?
No, I just got it, before the meeting started. So if I have questions, I can touch base with Frank as the week progresses.
Yep. Okay, I don't have any questions yet either, Chris, so do you want to go on then to the review of the
Sure.
annual town meeting
I've
warrant
included
articles?
a listing of the warrant articles that we have to date. I have not assigned numbers to them because every time I assign numbers to them, they change. So they have no numbers assigned to them just yet.
Good plan.
Yes. If anybody has any questions on them, there are still a few that I put on here as placeholders. There were items that the select board has talked about over the last few months, but had not decided whether or not they would actually be including them in the warrant. So I think we should have that discussion next Tuesday as to what articles you would specifically like to move forward.
Okay. Gus?
I'm not even sure they're questions or observations, but maybe you could just comment.
Sure.
On the first page of the warrant report, there are a number of revolving funds. The two that happened to mostly catch my attention was the EV charger revolving fund and the LTC police account revolving fund. And that then on the EV charger side, it also prompted a question of me to ask for probably 2 months. The last time I heard anything about the revenues that had come into the town for the EV chargers was like in August or September, and it was $45, which seems like a small amount to justify a revolving fund. So I'm wondering how much money has come in, or if no more money has come in, why would we be looking at a revolving fund to manage a 2-digit total?
So there is a little bit more money that came in. We only get we get an update on a quarterly basis.
Okay.
I don't believe, and I will leave it to the Energy Committee because they wanted to do the full analysis, and I'm actually meeting with Hilly and Megan tomorrow morning to discuss this. We have included the departmental revolving account because if we anticipate, which was the direction from the select board, that the EV chargers be self-sufficient, then we need to figure out if there needs to be an increase in the rates to do that. And we anticipate that they should be self-sufficient. So we would need the revolving fund in order to generate, where to put those
So
fees.
this is isolating that cost so we can actually manage it. That was what I suspected.
Yeah,
That I
it
wasn't.
was a lot of words to say that, I apologize.
And then on the LTC, I was just curious.
So
what's the reason?
So the LTC account, we get,
For anyone who doesn't know, that's, I assume.
License to
it's
carry.
License to carry, so it's people are looking for a license to have
Yeah.
a firearm.
and so we process that fee through the state. There is a fund that was set up prior to my taking over as town administrator that needs to be formally set up as a revolving account. So we treat it as a revolving account, but it was never formally set up. So this is a change to that.
Okay.
Yep.
And then the other general question I had, I think it's all on the second page. I already know, I think the elementary school tax mitigation stabilization fund, that one is directed toward the new project. Wasn't sure what the MSH mitigation fund was.
So if you'll recall, the LDA with Trinity set out $1 million payment to the schools.
Got it.
And the way municipal accounting works, if we do not have that mitigation account set up in advance, then the town has to take that money. It closes to free cash and would then need to be reappropriated at the following year's town meeting. So we're in anticipation of that payment coming in, setting up the account in advance.
Okay. And I think those are the only, question or comments or anything that I had.
Okay, Eileen?
Town moderator 3-year term, so that would be something that would go potentially up for vote on the floor in May of 2024 and then potentially on the ballot for 2025?
So that was an item that was discussed at a select board meeting, so I included it, but I had a question for Mark, and unfortunately, he and I have not had a chance to touch base whether or not that really was considered a minor charter change or if that was a significant charter change that needed more review.
No, it's a minor, it's considered minor.
So does that mean it can be an article, or does that mean you don't need an article? You just,
It means we can use the combination of the annual town meeting and the annual election to make the charter change.
great, okay.
Okay. And then zoning enforcement fees.
All right, so it has come to my attention after all these years that the zoning bylaw enforcement is not set up to take advantage of the ticketing procedure, the non-criminal ticketing procedure, which requires that you set out specific amounts for fines. We have, instead it says, quote unquote, up to $300 per offense. So that leaves the building commissioner no option but to go down to district court and take out a criminal complaint. So this would provide more flexibility.
Okay, that's good. And can we make those enforcement fees higher if people are just completely belligerent and don't really care about our rules?
So by law, local bylaws are capped at $300. That being said, typically as we do with other bylaw offenses, you start out and it goes progressive and then each day is a separate offense. So it can build up fairly quickly if it's worded properly.
Okay, so you can do each day that the person chooses to violate those rules?
Yes.
Okay, all right, that's good. And then dog bylaw, Christine, you need something from me to present to Gus and Pete?
So it's my understanding at the meeting in December, there was some question as to whether or not you were moving forward as the bylaw was presented by the dog bylaw committee, or whether there was gonna be some changes made by the select board.
I don't have any, personally, I don't have
Okay.
any changes. I think the biggest thing they were looking to do was remove the recall. So either your dog is on leash in leashed areas or off leash in the all out off leashed areas. But I think more than anything, it's imperative that we remove the recall from our current bylaw, because it really makes it difficult for our dog officer to really enforce our bylaw as it is today.
My memory may be faulty, but as I recall, during that meeting, I walked out of that meeting thinking that basically our fundamental feedback to the committee was that they were on a good track. We understood the points that they made about this kind of, baby steps to start with. So it's not like this is the be-all and end-all of dog control bylaws, but it's a step in the right direction, and I certainly am okay with that. But I thought that, I don't know that we've ever seen a finalized proposed bylaw to be taken up for consideration at the town meeting.
No, that'll be us drafting it.
Okay.
Yep.
So in terms of what's left to do, as I recall from that meeting, it was just simply that the actual final wording of what would be presented at town meeting hadn't been completely nailed down. It's not like more things had to happen or different things had to
Exactly. I
happen.
think that they had presented what their findings were, and now they're leaving it up to
Yeah.
us to do the final work.
Got it, okay.
Yep, we'll work on that.
And I was looking to go faster, but I'm happy to go along with their recommendation to go slower. So we just need to draft their bylaw.
Perfect. We should have that.
Anything
for-
else, Eileen?
MSH Redevelopment Authority.
Yeah, I can.
Go ahead.
It might make sense for me to talk about that. Todd Trebenko, the chair of the MSH Development Committee, and I had gotten into a conversation a couple of weeks ago. And so I asked for this to be in there as a placeholder so we could take some time to figure out whether it makes sense for us to establish the redevelopment authority. The issue that came up, and it actually came up with Trinity, Todd relayed the fact that right now, when we get a MassWorks grant or some sort of a state grant, that comes in as a grant to the town, and it's funding that is given to the town to support the MSH project, the Trinity project. If Trinity, because of that, we actually are literally the ones who are spending the money. So we're paying for that portion of the project directly through the grant that we get. If Trinity is in a position to borrow that money and then use it to carry out their project, they are allowed to take that amount and include it in the total cost of the project that is eligible for the historic tax credits. And it turns out that it makes several $1 million worth of difference to Trinity if they can have that money be recognized as money for their project. It has a big impact on their tax credits. In order to do that, the town would need to be able to loan, the money from the state still comes into the town, but the town would need to be able to loan that money to Trinity, and you can only do that if you have a redevelopment authority. We can't loan to Trinity, but if we had a redevelopment authority, that's kind of an authority that's set up to support that kind of stuff, and so they can. So the placeholder is there just to give us some time to take a look at that possibility, make sure we fully understand if there's any downside on it, or if there's any reason why we don't want to do it, either because it's too complicated or the authority becomes an entity unto itself that's uncontrollable by anybody in the town, or there's other complications or implications, then maybe it's not a good thing to do. But that's in there as a placeholder so that we can take a look at that in the next couple months. And if that's a way that we can help Trinity out on the financing for their project, then it probably makes sense for us to do that.
Okay, that's good, thank you.
Yep.
Other than that, I think I'm good, Pete.
Okay, thank you. I had a couple questions, but I emailed back and forth with Chris and got them answered. So are we all set then on the annual town meeting warrant articles? Chris?
Yeah, I just had just three basic questions. I think it was the one I emailed you about was the Route 27 Dale Street Traffic Mitigation Special Revenue Account. Is that
So there was a sum of money that the developer at Medfield Meadows paid to the town for essentially the replacement, I don't know if you've walked down there recently, the replacement of the walk signals, which
Okay,
are
got it.
rusting out. Because there was no, similar to what I just talked about the mitigation money from Trinity, because there was no account, special reserve account set up, that money had to close to free cash, which is approximately $80,000. So we are now appropriating that into the special reserve account so we can actually buy the 2 crosswalk signals, which are in horrendous condition.
Okay, great. Okay, thanks. And then the other thing I was just a little confused about was the select board name change in the town bylaws. I thought is that separate from what we already did in the past?
So we did it, the article indicated a change in the charter, but did not indicate the change in all of the bylaws. So
okay.
this is a housekeeping authorization, even though everybody's approved it, just to also change it in the bylaws.
Okay. And then a kind of a stupid question that I'm hoping that town council can clarify. So zoning enforcement fees, what is, quote, zoning limited to? Does it encompass, I mean, I have to go back and look at the bylaw myself, but does zoning, like, I'm just going to use a hypothetical situation. If the building commissioner were to say, gee, you tore down that house and you weren't supposed to because it wasn't approved by, it didn't go through the demolition delay bylaw, for example, would that be considered under a larger umbrella of zoning, or is that totally separate?
It's separate.
Okay.
There's separate penalties in the demolition delay bylaw.
Okay.
It would be anything that was within the face or the application of the zoning bylaw that's violated. So
Okay.
if you've got an illegal use and you give a notice to cease and desist, if you didn't,
Okay.
or you were
Fence that was too
violating
high.
setbacks, or anything contrary to what either that you did or didn't do that the zoning does or doesn't permit.
Okay.
It's within the four corners of the zoning bylaw itself.
Okay, great. That helps. Thank you.
Okay. Our next agenda item is Baxter Park Holiday Light discussion, and Chris?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would just like to, I feel legally obligated to caution you, as you proceed with this discussion, that, to be careful about what you say before you say it, because of the fact that, there may be unintended consequences at some point down the road in terms of what ends up in the minutes and transcript of this discussion.
Okay.
Sounds like it calls for the cone of silence.
Yeah. All right, so we'll move on to the next item then.
I guess we're holding on that one.
So this just got put on because there was a discussion about this in the past, and I wasn't sure if anybody actually wanted to talk about it any longer, and that's the only reason it's here. That question was asked, and I said, well, put it on and we'll see.
Yeah.
What happened last time is, we actually did, Gus gave a recap on his report, and when I started to comment on it, Mark was quick to say we can't debate it or deliberate it because it wasn't on the agenda, which is hence why I believe it's on the agenda now.
So,
It's also, and Mark, you can cut me off if you think I'm digging myself a hole, but I think more than anything, almost every year after we have the holiday lighting, we get a lot of emails from citizens asking about why are the lights not stellar and all that. And I think there just needs to be a general education that anything that's done in that park, and Christine, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that's all volunteer. Every light we see hanging has never been purchased by the town. And there's a group of citizens for years that have stepped up and given their time and energy to try to make that park a festive spot.
So let me interrupt, and that's a whole separate issue. The expenditure of public resources. The more fundamental question is, it's public property, and therefore whatever goes on there has, or potentially has, consequences. The issue is a very legally complicated one. It is there were periods where there was a lot of litigation because of displays The simple, it's like anything else, the starting point is if you don't allow anything, you're free. If you start to allow anything, then it has consequences. The consensus, and I had an email exchange with Pete back in December, the legal consensus appears to be if you do no more than install lights without signage, without structures, without any kind of displays, then you're not obligated to take on anything else. It's just a seasonal light display. Once you go beyond that, you potentially open yourself up to anybody else that wants to put up any sort of display for whatever, being able to do it. Unfortunately, historically, in other locations, it's gone beyond reason. So you just need to know that you're, whatever analogy you want to use, it's a slippery slope or what have you.
So look at some of our surrounding neighbors, and they put up holiday lights and representing, I mean, in other states. I mean, I know here in town of Medfield, we recognize the Jewish holidays by letting kids off to school to celebrate the various holidays. And I know we got a request from a young girl asking, could we put a menorah up by the holiday lights? And I know other towns do it, so I guess, Mark, I'm asking you, I think there was a reference that Natick does it, I think Walpole does it, so.
It's not them doing it, it's them allowing it to be done by other parties. There's, among others, a Shabbat group that goes to different communities. It's kind of a Jewish evangelical group, if you will. And they've taken the position that they're rather aggressive about it and have approached a number of municipalities that already have displays that go beyond the traditional lights. And in those circumstances, those municipalities have agreed that it could be installed as part of a holiday display. And frankly, it's a matter of working things out. People think it's the right thing to do, whatever. But the other, as I alluded to, and that may be fine, that's a policy decision for you to make if somebody were to approach. And again, there's a separate issue which alludes to Memo doing the lights up in Baxter Park. The municipality is not supposed to commit resources, personnel, what have you, to that installation or any other installation. But as I said, the concern is you then go from traditional religions and holidays to non-traditional, and they then have the same rights of assertion. The case was in Lexington, where they had a nativity scene. The courts held that that was okay as long as you allowed a variety of other things. It got to such an extreme with non-traditional groups that the select board said, all right, that's it, nobody's gonna put anything up. At that point, I think the Knights of Columbus, or the group that sponsored the nativity, said, wait a minute, we've been doing this forever, we started it, we should have a right to do it. Went all the way to the US Supreme Court, and they basically said, no, if the town takes a position, nobody's doing anything, then that's legally, the town's okay. So it becomes, potentially, there's the reasonable, rational common sense, and then unfortunately, we're not restricted to that.
So I got a chuckle out of hearing from Christine that I'm the one who instigated this being on the agenda, because when I saw it there, I said, what the heck are we going to be doing talking about holiday lights after New Year's? I will make a suggestion to to Eileen and Pete that this is an issue that may or may not be an issue, but if it is one, it will be an issue prior to the next holiday season if there are people in town who are interested in doing things, because there's a multi-layer thing going on here. people didn't like the lights because, and they thought the town did it, and it turned out Memo does it. And a bunch of people I know in the social media conversations have said, I'm willing to help, I'm willing to contribute. So presumably something next year will or won't happen spontaneously by residents here in town to change, improve, or at least support the things that Memo has traditionally done. And I would suggest that we worry about crossing, if any of those things involve policy reviews or policy decisions, we cross those bridges when we actually have real bridges that we're trying to cross, rather than have some sort of hypothetical discussion now that may not be relevant, or, you know, is kind of dredging up something that it's already gone, it's water under the bridge right now.
Well, we do have,
That being said, I would appeal to any people who are inclined in that direction on the other end to approach the town with enough opportunity for full discussion and consideration, as opposed to the last minute, we want to do it this weekend kind of thing.
Well, the actual thing is a Memo thing, so it would probably make sense for Memo to be proactive. But what I'm trying to do is keep the town out of being the referee on how Baxter Park gets decorated, put it quite simply. We have policies, those, we have to, you know, Memo has to, assuming Memo's continuing on, taking the lead on this, we have policies of what can and can't happen on town property, but we're not the ones who are making the specific decisions about what they will or won't do. Or at least I don't think we want to be.
But and all I wanted to do is, it looked like, not intentionally, but at the meeting where suddenly we got cut off, I didn't want it personally to go another 9 months and we go, oh, remember the discussion we had, you know, the very beginning of the year? I think that's personally the wrong way of handling it, that anyone who was watching it that night, at least tonight, we didn't sweep it under the rug. We brought it back up. We acknowledged that maybe this conversation is best by the September timeframe, so it's not a knee-jerk reaction in November. But I just personally, I just didn't want a lot of time to go by and have somebody think we didn't care, because we certainly care, and especially the young girl that wrote the email that you addressed in that meeting.
Fair enough.
so I know that 25 years ago, when I was helping Memo hang the lights, that even at that point, the town hired the bucket truck that actually strung the lights. So it wasn't just Memo, there was a lot of Memo work that went into it at that point, and Memo owned the lights. I don't know if, my sense is that the town is the one that strings the lights now, but I don't know, Chris, do you?
The DPW assists Memo in hanging the lights.
Yeah.
And it's Park and Rec property to boot now, right?
That's another issue.
I mean, that's something I wasn't even aware of until recently.
Neither was Park and Rec. So, yes, the Parks and Recreation has care, custody, and control of that property.
So, and I think that this may be a topic, in fact, it will come up when we get to this shared grounds maintenance. We probably should, and it's not on the agenda, so it's probably not a topic for discussion tonight, but we probably at some point should, as a select board, have a discussion. The reason Park and Rec has command, care, custody, and control of Baxter Park that nobody knew about was because it's a park. But is it a park that Parks and Rec actually even wants to have care, custody, and control over? So I don't want to open up the conversation, but I actually, as I was reflecting on this, realized it's a more complex issue for us and possibly for Parks and Rec. So we should at some point in one of our meetings bring that up around the allocation of responsibilities. And that I think we'll get to that when we get to this. So that's why it came up tonight.
Anything further about the Baxter Park holiday lights? Okay, why don't we move on then to action items, board and committee appointments. We just already did. Number 9, vote to authorize the town administrator to sign the contract with the Collins Center for a shared ground services feasibility study. Chris?
So this was the grant that we had received from the Commonwealth under the Community Compact Program, and we had accepted the grant, and we're working with the Collins Center to develop the proposal that you see in front of you this evening. And we anticipate it'll take 9 months to complete. So we anticipate having recommendations for you for the fiscal year, I can't believe I'm going to say this, the fiscal year 26 budget, so.
Gus?
So just a general comment, I guess we'll have time to, I guess you want approval to sign this contract. I mean,
Yes.
I'm okay with that, because Collins Center's done some good work, but I'll
Yes.
make an observation that the Exhibit A scope of work that they had, largely in light of the thoughts I'm having around who actually should,
Yes.
let me, just to shorthand it, the question, and this is oversimplifying it, I found myself asking, should the Parks and Recreation Department be the Parks and Recreation Department, or should it be the Recreation Department? That, in a nutshell, is where I'm coming from on this. And I don't want to start a fight with Parks and Rec. I'm not sure that Parks and Rec
No,
wants to control Baxter Park.
They do not.
Okay.
Mel
that's
just typed in, he agrees with you.
Okay, so, good. So where that comes in, the reason I
Yes.
went down that path is when we start getting into the kind of nuanced legal discussions that Mark's been bringing up about what can and can't happen at Baxter Park, I found myself saying, and Parks and Rec is the one that will be making those town decisions? That doesn't sound right to me. So that's where, so with that as a backdrop, when I read this, it felt like it was heavily focused on sort of an operational, let's take a look at who does what, who has what allocation of responsibilities, how much time and money and, do they spend? And I'm sitting there saying, well, actually, I think we have a more basic question
Yes.
around policy. And that policy is going to be an important input to whatever these guys do. Or these guys maybe help us with that policy, but that's the piece that.
Our conversations that we've had, and Mike Edwards, who helped us with the GFOA budget, is the one we contacted to work with on this study. And he did stuff similar when he was at the University of Alabama. He indicated he would assist us heavily in that policy. And I know Mel's listening, obviously, now. He and I have had discussions recently as to whether or not it's appropriate. And it's just, we have a great inventory that came out of the open space plan of who has control of those properties. But now it's time to actually look at, is that the right and proper control and the cost of maintaining that?
And so basically I'm saying that's a prerequisite question to be able to do a good job of this.
Yep. And I think they're going to interview, as it lays out in the proposal, they're going to interview representatives from Park and Rec, the Select Board, the School Department, the School Committee, and I think a lot of that policy is going to come to light at that time.
That's all I have.
Eileen?
No, I'm good.
Okay, me too. Gus, do you want to craft a motion then, please?
I move that we authorize the town administrator to sign the contract with the Collins Center for a shared ground services feasibility study.
Second. All those in favor? Ms. Murphy?
Aye.
Mr. Murby?
Aye.
Peterson, aye. Next is our vote to accept Housing Works Infrastructure Program grant and sign the contract. $4,486,800.
So this was, as you remember, as part of the LDA, the town had a responsibility to apply for what was called MassWorks at the time. It's now being called Housing Works. But we had an obligation to assist Trinity in applying for that, and this is for the infrastructure and roadways at the state hospital, which will remain public once that project moves forward. We were actually notified in fall regarding this. They put a gag order on us. We couldn't talk about it for a while until they made their announcements. They've made the public announcement that we received the money. We were working out, similar to what you referenced, in terms of whether or not we needed the redevelopment authority in order to do the funding. We've worked with Lisa Mead. At this point, we do not. We can move forward with the acceptance of MassWorks. I strongly urge us to sign this tonight. We've been notified that this is on the table to be pulled back by the governor if we don't sign it expeditiously.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Questions, Gus?
I've never noticed to hold back on signing acceptance and $5 million grants, but it's a good caution in case we were thinking about doing that.
Yes.
I do kind of have a question,
Sure.
though, it doesn't go there, but it kind of goes in that direction. I think you had talked before, this is a grant that's being given to the town for the redevelopment of the state hospital.
Yep.
We do not want to do construction, actual physical construction work on the state hospital property until we know that we have this project and we're moving forward with it.
Yes.
The $4.486 million breaks out in the materials to $760,800 for pre-construction type work, design work. I'm assuming, and you've commented before, so I think I'm just making clear to everybody that that's the portion of this grant that we would look at spending now prior to knowing for sure that we have a project. The remaining part, which is 3.7 million, which is for actual construction, we wouldn't be plowing money into, and recognize the context for this whole grant is that it's to redevelop the state hospital property. So they didn't just give us, hey, let's give these guys $4.8 million and see if they can do good stuff with it. We have to use it for this purpose, but we would only do the design work in advance of actually knowing that we're selling the property or actually selling the property, and then the rest of it would go into the construction cost.
Correct.
So,
Which you don't know now.
well, we know how much money we have.
No, I mean in terms of the project.
Well, we haven't closed on it.
That's my
Right.
So what I'm saying is, we're not doing any work, physical work on that site until we absolutely know that the project is a go, in terms of. Yeah, longer than the extensions.
Yeah.
And for those following along at home, the closing is supposed to be in March this year, but the Trinity has 2 6-month extensions that they can exercise.
Correct, and they'll be coming to your February meeting to give you an update as to where they are on their financing.
So you're all set, guys?
Yep.
Eileen?
A quick question, do we have a time frame in which we have to spend this money before the state recalls it?
Yeah, it's in the paperwork.
It's in the paperwork. So one of the things I would point out is part of the design and construction of this can also be for the intersections and roadways that Trinity is under the obligation. So I think there's an intent to do those intersections no matter what happens at the state hospital.
And that would be the Harding North, Harding West, and 27 in West?
Yes, I'd have to defer to the LDA, but yes.
Not
off the top of my head.
27 and West, it's Harding and Hospital.
Right, that's one of them.
It's 27 West is a separate grant. That's the intersection.
Yeah,
by
I'd have to look
that.
up in the LDA. I can't remember them off the top of my
But the
head.
3 that this covers are along Harding.
Okay.
Harding and North, Harding and West.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
North,
Hospital Road.
north, yeah.
Right, yeah, because yeah,
That's my
you're right, you're right.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be, you're right.
Okay.
I've got no questions on this, so Gus, if you want to craft a motion, please.
Let's see. I move that we we accept the Housing Works Infrastructure Program grant and sign the contract with the state of Massachusetts as part of that acceptance. Do I have to talk about who authorized?
So, you authorize the chair.
Authorize the
So
chair.
they require a wet signature on some of the documents, and some we're gonna have to do electronically. The electronically is expired, so we'll call you and update you as
Okay.
soon as we have new ones.
All right.
So
We might even be able to do it at the annual meeting on Friday.
So I move that we accept the Housing Works Infrastructure Program grant and authorize the select board chair to sign the contract.
I'll second that. All in favor? Ms. Murphy?
Aye.
Mr. Murby?
Aye.
Peterson, aye. Thank you. Number 11, Belforge Arts Center to request permission for an outdoor lantern parade on the core campus roads at the Medfield State Hospital from 5:30 PM to 7 PM on Saturday, March 2nd, bad weather date, March 3rd. No presentation, Gene?
So it's pretty self-explanatory, but it would be after dark. Sunsets at 5:37 that night, so we would gather at Belforge, do a walk around the roads and end at Belforge, and everybody will go home.
So you gave me a heads up on this. I've had time for my mind to start mulling this over. For some reason I thought, do people make their own lanterns? So is that part of the event, I think?
Yes, we have a workshop, 3 workshops coming at the end of this month. So one is a professional development for teachers and artists so that we can continue to offer that in the future. We're bringing an artist in who's going to train teachers and artists on how to build these and teach how to build them. And then we'll do 2 community workshops on the Sunday, and then people can bring those back. And then we will also have some other simple ones that kids could build out of soda bottles.
So that was.
People to
so-
bring to the lantern parade.
So that leads to the next question, as I then started, my mind started wandering. I'm saying, what's the materials that these lanterns are made out of?
It's bamboo rods, basically, and it's kind of like a Mylar paper.
Okay.
They're not opaque, but they're also not clear.
Yeah, I got it.
And then it's a little LED light inside.
Okay, that answers
That
my
makes it
next question,
illuminate.
because when you, I said, I think they're paper, and then I said, well,
Yeah.
how are we illuminating these things? They candles or?
No.
So, okay, it's an LED light. Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to know.
Eileen, questions?
All right, so that was, you answered that one question. So no live flames, LED lights make sense. And then, we say core campus roads. I mean, I think the core is the quad. But then are you looking for the access road that brings you up? So what are the core, when you say core campus roads?
No, I'm just thinking about the road that's the interior road around Belforge to the back where the lawn and the labyrinth are. So basically, we'll gather at Belforge, we'll just walk towards the back, we'll take the right, and back to Belforge.
Inside the quad.
Inside the quad, correct.
I have no questions. Gus, do you want to?
Yep. I move that we approve Belforge Art Center's request for permission to have an outdoor lantern parade on the core campus roads of the Medfield State Hospital from 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. on Saturday, March 2nd, with a bad weather date of March 3rd.
I'll second that. All in favor? Ms. Murphy? Eileen?
She said aye.
Oh, I didn't hear you, I'm sorry. Mr. Murby?
Aye.
And Peterson, yes. Thank you. Sorry I didn't hear you, Eileen. We have a category of gifts, a new agenda item. Let's have more of these. Accept the gift from Medfield Lions to Medfield Outreach of $250. Do you want to make a motion, Gus, or do you want an explanation?
No, I don't. I move that we accept the gift from the Medfield Lions to Medfield Outreach in the amount of $250.
I'll second that. All in favor? Eileen?
Aye.
Mr. Murby?
Aye.
Peterson, yes. Citizen comment. Anybody have a comment? Anybody on the online, Chris?
Nope.
Consent agenda is just a request to post signs at the intersection of North and Main and northeast corner of Route 27 and South Street advertising Medfield Youth Hockey fundraiser from January 17 to January 31.
Move that we approve the request to post signs at the intersection of North and Main and northeast corner of Route 27 and South Street advertising the Medfield Youth Hockey fundraiser from January 17th until, I think they're posting the signs from January 17th until January 31st.
I'll second that. All in favor? Ms. Murphy?
Aye.
Mr. Murby?
Aye.
And Peterson, yes. We have meeting minutes. Have you guys had a chance to review these?
Have.
Yeah,
And so do we have a motion to accept the,
I want to just comment. So I was good with the August 22nd, September 12th. All of the changes that I made in Google Docs were strictly wordsmithing, typographical, punctuation things, nothing significant. On the September 19th one, I made some I don't think any of these will concern you, but I made more than just typographical, so I wanted to kind of let you know what they were. So if you humor me for 1 second here, besides correcting the spelling of Bill Massaro's last name in the attendance list, I inserted in the
Be on your
meeting
toes.
minutes in the discussion of the Energy Committee charter, not the charter itself, because the meeting minutes actually have the full charter. But when I was reading the meeting minutes, when we got to the one that added the climate action plan, when it's by itself, not in the bullet list for the charter, there's a parenthetical thing that says added and approved by Board of Selectmen on 9/27/23. That's an explanatory note in the charter that says the bullet was added, when I read it, I said, wait a minute, we didn't approve the climate action plan on 9/27/23. In fact, what we did is we said we had been, we were taking that and we would be providing feedback. And then when I got to the full charter, I realized it was only talking about the bullet. So I added an explanatory editorial note. This bullet was added to the Energy Committee charter. The Board of Selectmen did not formally approve the climate action plan. That's only if somebody 2 years from now were to read that, they would read it as that we had approved the plan. So it's
Okay.
only for clarification.
Yep, sounds correct to me. Eileen?
And then I think, I did an edit on, hold on. We were talking about the MBT Zoning Advisory Committee. So it's item 11, and it called out that I asked some questions about what the purpose of the committee was. And then I reworded something. It said, Mr. Murphy stated that he was alarmed that they are starting to educate citizens about what is involved here, depending on what the consultants come up with. And then I reworded the rest of it because it sounds like the state could come and say that the town's plan would not work. That might then require more space, et cetera, than what the public was led to believe after attending the forums and workshops. So my point at the time was when we talked about the education process, working on what our planned compliance was going to be for the MBTA zoning, before we knew what the state's answer on the state hospital property would be, I was trying to point out that if you're educating the public with an assumption that that's what it's going to be, and then the state doesn't do it to us, it would mess things up. That was the point I was trying to make, and the way it was worded in the draft was not, I didn't understand what I said until I remembered what I said, and then I reworded it, so it would mean what I meant it to mean. And I think that was it.
So do we have a motion then to accept the minutes as edited?
I move that we accept the August 22nd, 2023, September 12th, 2023, and September 19th, 2023 Select Board meeting minutes as edited prior to tonight's meeting.
I'll second that. All in favor? Eileen? Gus?
Aye.
Peterson, yes. Chris, Town Administrator updates.
I just have one. As some of you know, Jack Rose is going to step down as our representative on the Tri-County School Committee, and I just want to thank Jack. Since he took over as a member of that committee, he has been so diligent in coming in and keeping myself and the financial team updated as we went through the process, the MSBA process with Tri-County for the new school. I just want to thank him for all of his work that he has been doing, and will be advertising for a new member of that committee.
Okay.
I would,
Good.
just a quick comment in response to that. One of the pleasures I get out of this job is that I get to meet certain people in town whose name, who are well-known to other, people who have been in town government for a long time. Sometimes I even recognize their name, but I don't know who they are. But then every once in a while, I get to not only know their name, but I actually get to meet them. I would say Jack Rose is one of those people that, just as a function of having gone to the briefing at the Tri-County and having him come to some meetings. He's one of those guys I'm really glad that I actually got to meet, over and above merely the fact that I know his name and that he's been helping out. So I thank, my personal thanks to him for what he's done on this.
Well said. Eileen, anything? I guess.
I've watched, again, what Gus just said regarding Jack. I think he's such an outstanding man. You can see his genuine interest and desire to support, and I appreciate everything he's done, and I wish him well as he moves forward.
We've got our next meeting dates. We're next here on January 23, February 6, February 20, and then into March, and
I have a conflict on the March 12th date.
they're on the list.
We can move that around.
Looks like we're moving one of them around already. Select Board member reports. Mr. Murby.
For the first part of the year, it was kind of busy. The first thing, on the 2nd of January, no less, Christine and I were on a DCAM Zoom call where we're talking about, we were having a discussion about potentially modifying the sales partnership that we have with the state in light of everything that's gone on. As it turned out in that discussion, It looks, right now, it looks like it will make sense to push that whole discussion off until we have greater clarity around closing on the property. So we didn't make any modifications to the agreement because we were not comfortable that nobody was comfortable actually taking a position at this point when so many things are up in the air. That was item one. Then on
And can we just tell people at home that aren't following as closely as you that the sales partnership agreement is our agreement with the state to give them half of the net proceeds from the sale of the Medfield State Hospital after expenses, after our expenses?
So that's the basic idea, and then the discussions we've been having is a conversation around the state's obligation to build a state road to provide access to the overlook, which is going to cost the state money, and our desire to kind of, for the land that's being transferred to Trinity, to just kind of like, get out of that partnership and not have to go through the whole drill. And that's not close enough to fruition yet for us to let the state off the hook on the road and have them let us off the hook on the partnership. So we're where we were.
So I don't object either way.
Right.
I'd be happy
Right. Then on the third, I think, Pete, you were on the MMA webinar on the flag flying. So MMA does a bunch of, free webinars on various topics of concern to towns. I think Pete and I were both on. Eileen, I don't think you were, and so I can forward the email that has the recording of it. It was a webinar that was focused on the Shurtleff case, which was the case that was brought against the city of Boston when it didn't want to fly flags that a group wanted flown in front of the city hall. Interestingly, in the webinar, they were focused very much on only the lawyer that was presenting from KP Law only wanted to talk about the situation in the context of flying flags. So all the other types of displays, signs, all the other things, they were trying very hard to draw a line that some of the things that came out of this case might not apply to other things. Bottom line for me, at least, Pete, was I came out of the webinar saying I'm kind of glad that we have even though the policy we have is not restricted flags, I'm glad that we have a policy that basically says we don't allow political speech to just sort of be used, on our public town property. We basically want to keep the political speech off of it. And so it was a good webinar. I'll send the recording. It's worth the hour or so that you'd watch it just to get brought up to speed. Then I even had so much fun with that one, I tuned in for the Conflict Conversations MMA webinar. That was partially for professional reasons, because this is an area that I've worked in for 25 years, but I was actually curious how they would talk about dealing with difficult conversations in the context of town government. This very first webinar, apparently there might be a second or a third one that I think is going to get down into more specifics and application to town-type situations. The woman who was presenting, who is from Northeastern University, is a professor at Northeastern University, and she's the chair of the Sharon Select Board. She gave a pretty decent overview of a number of concepts that get tied into difficult conversations. But because she was covering so much territory, it was all not grounded in anything that would be relevant to people. Her first question was interesting when she asked the audience what bothered them about difficult conversations, and not half, but a good number of them basically said, all these people that don't agree with my views on issues. And they did it sincerely. It was kind of fun to read that. Earlier today, there was a CCA, our Community Choice Aggregation Program, the subcommittee of the Energy Committee. We had a video conference with Good Energy talking about the latest iteration of modifications to our planning documents in response to specific feedback that the DPU has sent back on our town, Boxford, Hanson, and one other town that begins with a B. We all have slightly different plans, but they're close. This was an administrative, this is Eileen and Pete, because you've kind of given me a bit of leeway on calling the shot on what requires a select board vote and what doesn't. This was an administrative clarification in response to specific questions or suggestions or requests that the DPU had about what the plan would specifically say. It did not change the plan in any substantive way. The due date is the 22nd of January, based on the fact it was truly administrative. I told Bob and Megan that I would let you know that I said I didn't think it required a vote of the select board. I wasn't even sure it really required a vote of the CCA committee itself, but that's up to Bob. So I basically said we don't need to vote on it, and I need to give you a chance tonight to tell me I should have done that, and then I'll go back to Bob. But it was administrative. We've actually already gotten the plan approved, but they did this plan approval with this request for continuing information. So we're getting close. It sounds like maybe 2 months from now, we might have everything good to go. The earliest we could launch the program would be June. I'm not sure that's going to be a good idea, because what that is 2 months before Eversource changes its rates. So they changed their schedule. It used to be July 1st to December 31st. They pushed it out a month now, so it's August, I guess, through January. The committee hasn't talked about it, but my gut is you don't want to bring a bunch of people into a program in June if suddenly Eversource's rates go down in August. So that's, we'll talk about it once we know we have a plan. We actually have full approval. And then finally, there's an OPEB Trust Fund Committee meeting tomorrow, Zoom call. I am not on that committee anymore, but Frank sent me the invitation, and I was intrigued enough by the GASB compliance documents that I'll probably tune in for that around the funding options that they were discussing.
I'm gonna free up some time in your calendar because it was postponed.
Oh, it's postponed?
Yep.
Okay, well,
Yep.
so I'll get to report that again in 2 weeks.
You will, in 2 weeks we can talk about this.
All right, that's it.
Eileen?
Not that active. The Affordable Housing Trust January meeting got canceled, so we'll regroup again in February. I did miss last week while I was out in Vegas for the Consumer Electronics Show. I missed the Medfield Cares About Prevention monthly leadership meeting, so I need to resync with the team to see what I missed and what homework I have. And I think the saying, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, does not apply to COVID, because a couple of thousand people and crowded planes, and this is what you get. So I'm not there tonight for that reason, but hopefully I'll be back next Tuesday.
Okay, thank you.
If I may, you guys, I apologize for that, but my window of laying low doesn't wrap up until Saturday.
We hope you get well fast. I had, let's see, we actually, all of us had a select board meeting for the PPA signing and voting. I met with Jean Minio about the Belforge Arts Center stuff. I had office hours. Medfield Foundation had a meeting. I went and supported the Blake Middle School kids yesterday and learned that it's actually the Blake Middle School kids who run the blood drive. It's really very cool. I spent a long time talking to the teacher. They're high school, and the Blake kids like it so much that they keep doing it even once they go to high school. But it's basically a Blake Middle School event. I got involved with the dam at Danielson Pond because of a tree down there that created some issues. And then I had somebody from Consensus Building Institute reach out to me about EPA is apparently going to do some sort of permits regarding private properties of impervious surfaces of more than an acre. And so they're looking to get input into what they should do about that. So I suggested that if they wanted information about Medfield, they should get in touch with Christine and Maria.
Thank you.
And that's it for me. Anything in the informational? The informational looked like it was all follow-ups on
Yes.
Hazardous spills.
Yep.
So are we ready to have a motion to adjourn? Eileen?
got this when I was out of town last week. Dick Judge's email regarding the Beaver Dam and the concern of the overflow on the rail trail, do you know if any of that was addressed in the last week or so? Did they do anything? Because it was about ready to flow over and ruin all the work that they did with the road.
Yeah, I don't know. What threw me off is I thought the beaver deceivers, when I'd asked a question a month ago about, well, if the Concom had a problem with the beaver deceivers being put in, why don't we just pull them out? But then you can't just pull them out. So I got confused by the email because I thought the beaver deceivers were still there. So Dick Judge is talking about something that's not working well enough. So and I never got a chance to go. I wanted to go look at it for myself with the rail trail before I did anything. But.
My understanding is that the state is telling the rail trail people, Christian, that the beaver deceivers don't work, and I think that there's an issue about the rail trail people who are basically the town. The town is the person who applied, needs to apply if they want to take some action. So that's the issue, as I understand it.
Right, and the only thing I guess I was concerned with, because when I got it, sent it, when I was out of town, so my concern was, it looked like it was about ready to overflow, and the last thing we want to see is the rail trail road road actually get eroded. So I myself, thus haven't had a chance since I got home to head down and check it out, hoping that there wasn't any damage.
There's a lot of water everywhere, yeah. I was just walking over the outflow of the pond by the Unitarian Church. That was just going like gangbusters. I reached out to Alex Stevens to ask him how his dam was doing, and he said it was just full open.
Yeah, the Natick Upper Falls, I've checked on that for a couple times, and I think it was Saturday night or Sunday, no, it was later than that. It was probably Sunday night. By Saturday night, I went over to look at it, and it was about less than 4 foot drop. And then I went by on Monday night, and it was like less than 3 foot. It was almost like there wasn't a falls there.
Are you talking about the dam at South Natick?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of water. I also, though, thought about the fact this town is fortunate. I've come away with a renewed appreciation of floodplains. Because if you really read some of the stories of what's going on up in Vermont or up in New Hampshire or up in Maine, you look at what's going on here, and okay, Causeway's flooded, but if you go to the Overlook, that's a lake.
Yeah, the amount of flood storage that Medfield does saves everybody downstream.
Just to expand on what you said, the work that we had the state do to create the overlook pulled out enough material from the river to create almost 5 gallons of flood storage, 5 million gallons.
Yeah.
So
I know where that 5 million falls.
and if you were out there, I mean, I've seen shots of it and everything else. I mean, basically it came up almost to the gas line and everything else, but that's 5 million gallons of water there that could have been somewhere else.
And if you go up Route 27, there's a little, I don't even know what it is, there's a little brick building on our side of Route 27 just before you get to the bridge. And I went, the last time we had the flood, I went and looked at that, and there was probably
The whole field?
There was probably 2 feet of freeboard where you could see ground. This time when I went by it, it didn't flood the building, but it's right up almost to or it was right up to the base of the building.
So I've been saying for years now that we have not taken enough credit for what we accomplished in a river there. I mean, we really sold ourselves short and everything else, and we've done a big benefit, not just for Medfield, but for the rest of the downstream locations.
I think that building is well 6.
It is.
Oh, is
It
this well 6?
Yes.
Boy, that's an old
Yes.
looking building. Okay.
The one up by the river?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a little tiny.
It's not that
So,
old
yeah.
looking.
It's well 6.
I didn't realize that. Well 6. Yeah, son of a gun. Okay. Well, well 6 has got a lot of water.
It has a lot.
But it's not really pulling from the river, I'm told, so. Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
I'll second that. Eileen? Gus?
Aye.
Me too.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Medfield TV.
And I